December 1900. On a remote island chain battered by the North Atlantic, 3 lighthouse keepers simply vanished. No bodies, no distress call, no trace. Their disappearance remains one of maritime history's most unsettling mysteries. More than a century has passed, yet the clues they left behind refuse to stay silent. The Flannan Isles, barren, windswept, and relentlessly isolated. This is a place where storms rise without warning and where loneliness becomes a constant companion. The men assigned here were seasoned and disciplined. Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur were each familiar with the unforgiving temperament of the sea. But on December 15th, passing vessels reported something unusual. The lighthouse beacon was dark. Days passed. Still no signal. When the relief keeper Joseph Moore finally set foot on the island, he sensed immediately that something was profoundly wrong. Inside the lighthouse, he found a scene frozen in time. An untouched meal sat on the table. A chair was overturned as if someone had stood up in a hurry. But there was a more disturbing detail. 2 of the keeper's heavy oilskin coats were missing. One coat, however, remained in its place. This meant one of the men had walked head-on into a brutal Atlantic storm, wearing only his indoor clothes. Why would any trained keeper take such an astonishing risk? There were no signs of a struggle, no damage inside, just the unsettling impression that their departure was both abrupt and involuntary. Moore's investigation continued outside. At the west landing, he found a steel railing twisted by some immense force. Tools were scattered about, and a supply box had been smashed open. This damage pointed to a powerful, sudden event. The rogue wave theory quickly emerged. This explanation suggests that massive, unpredictable walls of water, sometimes reaching over 100 feet high, could have crashed over the cliffs, sweeping away anyone standing too close. It's a terrifying but plausible scenario. But the official logbook complicated things. It claimed violent storms had been raging for days, yet the mainland recorded calm weather during that same period. Was this an exaggeration? A mistake? Or were the keepers experiencing a localized microstorm, something the mainland could not see? This raises the central question. What could have possibly caused 3 disciplined men to break protocol and leave the lighthouse completely unattended, all at the same time? One theory reconstructs a plausible chain of events. It suggests Marshall and Duckett went outside to secure equipment threatened by the rising storm. Seeing his colleagues in danger, the 3rd keeper, MacArthur, rushed after them, coatless, acting on pure, selfless instinct. If that's what happened, a single devastating wave could have ended all 3 of their lives in a matter of seconds. But even the rogue wave theory has its flaws. For one, why was the lighthouse door found closed, not blown open? Why was the lamp trimmed and ready for lighting, suggesting they planned to return? And most intriguingly, why did the log entries show signs of growing anxiety, something completely uncharacteristic for men of their experience? Several alleged log entries paint a more psychological picture. Marshall supposedly wrote of severe winds, unlike anything he had ever seen in his life. He noted Duckett was very quiet, and MacArthur, a notoriously tough ex-soldier, was reportedly crying. These entries suggest a breakdown, not from the storm, but from fear. But here is the twist. Most modern historians agree these emotional log entries are almost certainly fake. They were likely added later by writers looking to sensationalize the story. Which raises an entirely new question. Why was someone trying to manipulate the narrative? What really happened that they felt the need to cover up? Let's look at another angle. The equipment damage near the west landing might point to a different kind of emergency. Perhaps the men weren't fighting the storm, but responding to something in it, maybe a crashed boat or a distress signal from the sea. Some speculate the keepers spotted a vessel in distress and ventured out to perform a rescue, only to be lost to the elements themselves. But if that were true, why was no wreckage ever found? And why were no reports of missing sailors filed from any other ship in the area? Then there's the most human theory of all: conflict. Isolation can eat away at a person's mind. Imagine it: 3 men trapped within the same walls, surrounded by the same howling wind, the same deafening silence, month after month after month. Could the immense psychological pressure have caused tensions to finally escalate? Did a fight break out near the cliffs? Some believe 2 men may have died first in an altercation, and the last slipped or was pulled into the waves while trying to recover their bodies. Yet again, the evidence doesn't quite fit. There was no blood, no signs of a struggle inside, and no personal items were disturbed. The scene was eerily peaceful. But the most controversial and enduring theories come from sailors who reported strange lights in the sky on the night the men vanished. These lights were described as hovering over the island, then shooting upward into the heavens, unlike any distress flare or known atmospheric effect. Was it a weather phenomenon we still don't understand, or something else? Local folklore speaks of spirits in the sea, of ancient curses on the island, and of mysterious visitors from other realms. These were stories dismissed as simple superstition, until the disappearances of 1900 fed them new, terrifying life. Today, the Flannan Isles lighthouse is automated. The rooms where the keepers once lived, ate, and slept remain empty. The only sound is the wind, echoing through hallways once filled with human voices.